Hi, welcome to Family. We've got your back. This week we're talking about dating.
Bah!
Because if you can't date right or date as a couple after you're married, the relationship kind of fizzles. It doesn't continue. And so we want strong families, and at the core of that is the strong head of the family.
Oh, that's me.
No, that's us.
Oh, that's sorry. But specifically, we're not talking about dating as married people like we are.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
every week we go on a date, or we try at least. And it's not the same every time. I mean, a lot of it is. Sometimes we even just have dinner in our bedroom away from our kids and watch a movie. Or play a game or something away from our children, and it's free and at home. But it's time away alone together to talk about interesting things and hopes and dreams and listen and without distractions.
But I guess what I meant to say is what we were talking about before is that we're talking about premarital dating in this episode mainly.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so
not mainly, but just dating in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I guess what we're saying is dating is a pairing off of, a partner, you and a partner,
right,
or other people with you as well, but you have a partner and you go do something enjoyable together. And we think that's a date. It doesn't have to cost money, and we think there's do's and don'ts of dating.
Yes, we do.
So we'd like to talk about those. And the reason being is two things. One, a friend of mine told me her boyfriend broke up with her over text. And we're like, wow, that's just no. That's, yeah. Anyway, and then we were at our son's game, and after the game, they were saying, "Oh, that's good dating advice," and so I didn't really hear what they were saying, and so I only heard part of the conversation, and then I heard, "These hands are rated E for everyone," and I said, "That's terrible dating advice," and they all busted up and thought it was hilarious.
Well, they had moved on to a different.
They were talking about something
completely
else.
different. So.
And so they thought,
but
your mom's awesome. It was funny. It was funny because, these hands are rated E for everyone is terrible dating advice.
Completely.
So, yeah, keep your hands to yourself, basically. But anyway, so the first don't of dating we thought of was don't start too young. So I did quite a bit of research about that and discovered there's quite a few hazards out there, and mainly for girls, but also for boys, if you start too young. One of them was violence, domestic abuse and violence. You are 70% more likely to be abused if you have a child when you're a teenager by your partner.
Significant other, yeah.
Well, it's typically the girls are abused by their, for lack of a better term, baby daddy.
Yeah.
And why does teen pregnancy happen? Because you start dating really early, and then you feel like you can do other things early.
Your level.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think the statistic was 58% felt forced into a physical relationship because they did not have the maturity mentally or emotionally, or they didn't have the maturity to say no.
Yeah.
They wanted to feel loved and accepted, and they need this person, and if this will make them happy, I will do what I don't want to do to make them happy. There were so many awful statistics if you started dating too young. And so I was like, well, when is too young? And we're talking about pairing off.
Yeah.
We're not talking about hanging out as a group of friends.
Yeah.
A mixed gender group of friends. We're not talking about, because that, about 14, whatever, hanging out with a good group of just everybody. That's appropriate. That actually
and
helps
necessary.
you mature.
Yeah,
yes,
necessary.
Yeah, because being locked in your room to stay away from boys by a overprotective daddy with a shotgun on his porch isn't helpful either. But you need to learn how to communicate. You need to learn how to not be a doofus around the opposite gender. You need, you need that practice.
And you need that safe environment with friends around so that you can figure things out.
Yeah, before it matters in a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, you need to work out the kinks in your social game, I guess.
Well, and yeah, in dealing with the opposite sex, it's like you just gotta know what mannerisms there are, and you gotta know what behaviors you can expect. And up until that age, you have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
You don't, because you
don't have the mental
hormones
capacity.
are different,
and
like you don't even know between the ages of 10 and 15. There's a huge change.
Oh, girl. Especially for
girls.
Oh, especially for girls, because they mature faster than boys. But so basically, the most experts agree that 16. So if you're emotionally mature enough and mentally and physically mature enough to drive a car, that would be an appropriate time for you to start figuring out the dating process. And we're not saying go steady and always be alone and all that. There's obviously rules, and as parents, it's your responsibility to protect your children from things that could harm them, and setting a hard no on saying, you know what, I know it's not cool to wait to date, but it harms you. It emotionally, physically, socially, mentally, it harms you if you start dating too soon. Some of the stats were that you couldn't behave in school. You had behavioral problems. You had school issues as well. And you were saying something about that holding hands.
Yeah, two good kids. Like teachers liked these two kids. Still like these two kids.
Again,
right?
8th grade.
Hello. Yeah, 8th graders, right? These are 8th graders, and they. I just noticed that they were holding hands going to class. So obviously they were,
a couple.
And
13, 14, that's so young. No.
And so, but then a couple weeks after I saw them, they would walk to class together. Oh, so cute, blah blah blah, right? And but then something happened. I don't know what, because I don't get into teenage drama.
He's not their confidant of who dates who.
But I saw the young man clearly torn up. And he wasn't able to even stay in class. So he was out in the hallway being depressed, distraught and all that. And like I said, I don't know all the details.
But he wasn't in school learning where he should have been.
Right.
That's where your focus should be right now, is learning and figuring out life as best you can without the messy entanglements of adult relationships.
Yeah.
And so basically that's what we're saying is these adult relationships take the maturity to think about someone else, put someone else first, to be a team,
and just
to depend on one another, and treat each other with love and respect and kindness. And at that age, you're just not capable.
Right. And some of these, some people think, oh, if my body is mature, then I must be mature. This is a mentally mature thing.
Well, and emotionally as well. Because if you are not emotionally mature enough to handle the benefit of the doubt, say, then you're not emotionally mature enough to be in a relationship.
Right.
If you're not emotionally mature enough to be unselfish, then you are not mature enough to be in a relationship. So, I wish I had kept that website. But it said if you can get good grades, treat your parents with respect, be responsible in your chores and homework. There was some other things. But if you were mature enough for that and the appropriate age, then it would be an appropriate time for you to start dating, because
you've mastered those skills.
You've mastered your self-control, basically. Yeah. And I think one of the reasons the stats were like 70% of girls who date early get abused is because they don't have the emotional maturity to say no, because they're so wrapped up in their worth is so wrapped up in having a boyfriend that they can't be alone. And the skill to be alone is so important. Even when you're in a relationship, there are times when you need to be alone. You are alone. Not just need to be, but are alone. Yeah. And if you can't handle that, then you can't handle being in a relationship either. I've heard that a lot of people want to be in a relationship and get married because of how they think they will feel.
Oh, yeah.
Once they're in that relationship. And so they have all these expectations of being in this relationship. And, I'll finally be happy if, when I get married, I'll finally be happy and complete. And they're so disappointed because the fantasy in their head does not end up being reality. And so if you aren't happy or enough alone, you will not be happy and enough with someone else. So that's what you need to focus on when you're young, is figuring out how to be happy alone and happy with others. You have to be both in order to be in a relationship. And if you can't do that, then you will be unhappy in your relationship as well. So, yeah. So anyway, abuse, awful things, teenage pregnancies, those occurrences that drastically, like exponentially drop when you start dating, when you are emotionally and mentally mature enough. So enough about that. Protect your kids. Have a hard no on dating before it's appropriate. So our second don't was don't ignore red flags. Pay attention to things like anger and aggressiveness, possessiveness, lying.
Yeah, sadly, that's going to require that you talk to your kid, right?
Yeah. Again, not just you, but this is not just underage dating,
right?
Or even, but like if you are single, pay attention to red flags.
Red flags.
If you are already married, you should also pay attention to red flags, but the way you deal with them is different. Like therapy versus running away and hiding, that sort of thing. So again, we already talked about it.
Don't text.
Don't break up over tech. That's a big no-no. Have the respect. Well, see, in that previous episode, we talked about respect and how it respect is earned. So what people say is respect, they really mean consideration. So be considerate enough to break up in person, and don't say let's just be friends. Don't say it's me, not you. Be honest. And tell them why, and don't do it in a rude way. It's like, you're a jerk and I don't want to be with you anymore. Well, don't do that either.
No.
That's just as bad as let's just stay friends. Let's just be friends. That's so dumb. Anyway, the reasons I broke up with the people that I broke up with was it just wasn't the right situation. Right. And I didn't know why often. It just didn't, things were good. We were having a good time together, and it just didn't feel right. I don't know.
It might have been a subconscious red flag. I don't know.
I doubt it. They were good people. Yeah, they were good people. They were good people. I didn't choose to be exclusively dating people that weren't good people. It just didn't feel right. Or it just didn't work out, or timing was off, or whatever. But the reason I broke up with them is I didn't feel right about the relationship. It didn't feel like I should continue. And so, and I feel bad about that, but if it's just something's off, you got to pay attention to that. So going along with the red flags, often you don't know why. Something just feels off. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to your instincts, because you're pretty smart. Your brains are pretty awesome, and they will put things together in a way that gives you a warning that you can't explain in words, but you just feel it's off.
Right.
And so pay attention to that. Don't ignore your intuition. And so when you're breaking up with someone, do it respectfully, So yeah, just say, there are some things that just don't work with us. And, because my friend was like, he lied and he also didn't tell me why. He gave me a false reason, and I would like to know if it's something I did. And so, yeah, if people want to get better, and they do, people like relationships and they want to be in them. And so if they're not told what they're doing to annoy other people, or what they're doing is off-putting, or the reason they're not in a relationship, they'd like to fix that. So do it in a respectful, considerate, kind way. There's no need to be mean and angry and abusive.
You can be factual without being all emotional about it.
Well, and not cold either. But just say, hey, I really think you're awesome, but there's just some things that aren't working. It's just not working out with us, or something. And so, yeah. And the reason can be it just doesn't feel right. So the next one is a do. It's be honest. And we talked about that a little bit before. But don't put up a fake picture on your dating profile on the dating app. Don't say that you're this awesome person when you're not.
Well, and truthfully, the honest people are awesome. It's like they don't have anything to be ashamed of. They are who they are, and if you're being your best self when you're with the person that you feel you might want to be with, then you can't top that.
I agree. Genuineness is very attractive, if you're putting your best self out there, and we're not saying be fake about it, but if you are able to give your best self to another person, that's awesome. That's a great quality to have. But if you are not able to be genuine and honest with someone, then you're not ready to be in a relationship. I don't think. Because honesty and trust, if there's no relationship without honesty and trust, like in a romantic relationship. And it tears you apart if you are in a relationship where there's no trust. So don't lie. Be honest. Be genuine. Be your best self. And don't gaslight people. But so just be genuine. And this is our last one. The person you're in a relationship with is not a trophy. You're a team. You're not some status symbol. And if you treat someone as a status symbol or an object, then there's an inequality in the relationship that it will fall apart. So when you're dating, you're not dating a trophy. You're not dating for status. You're dating for a life partner, a team member. And so so that's what you're looking for. To have a successful relationship, those are the elements that you need. And if you can't do that, then again, you're not ready for a lifelong commitment.
Yeah. I still think it's interesting that this whole dating process is designed to prepare you to become, a family unit. And you are eventually going to marry someone that is not completely different. You're going to have some things in common, of course.
They're a separate entity
separate
from
entity,
you.
And your will needs to bend to hers, and her will needs to bend to yours, and it becomes it becomes a really strong thing because you know how to adapt, you know how to be patient and loving despite the differences that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. And another plug for waiting to date. If you are too young and you get trapped into these relationships with lifelong consequences like children, it's really hard to recover from that. So anyway, we're not saying that it's the kid's fault at all, though. So that's not what we're saying. We're saying, that it's difficult, a difficult life if you start dating too early. And so this week, if you are married, go on a date. If you are in a relationship with someone, again, plan a fun date and go. If you are not in a relationship where you are dating someone, be where other people of your dating pool will be. Be in their presence.
Yeah.
And not a bar. A bar is a terrible place to go to find a lifelong, fantastic relationship. Go... Community service is a better way, but anyway, no. So yeah, go be where there are people your age in an uplifting, positive situation. A concert or I don't know, something.
Whatever.
Something, a dance, I don't know, something that is uplifting and fabulous. And where people your age are. So yeah, go on a date and be respectful and honest and wonderful to each other. So anyway, thanks for watching or listening to this episode of Family We've Got Your Back. And remember, if you have any comments, or please leave them, and please subscribe if you are enjoying this podcast. And you can email me at familywe'vegotyourback@gmail.com. So anyway, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.